Alright, now let's work on our server sidebar, which will be placed here. Yeah. And in order for this to work, first of all, let's create a new page. And let's name this page server page.tsx. And now let's work on our server sidebar here. For this, let's create another layout. So let's head over to our layouts folder. And in here, let's create a server layout.tsx file. Let's write rfce. Now let's head over to our main.tsx. And here we need to configure a new route. So underneath this closing route tag, let's open up another route with a path of servers and then colon server ID, which will be our dynamic ID, which we can access by using use params from React Router DOM. You will see this soon. And then here, let's say element, which is our server layout, which we have to import. Let's close it properly like this. And then also let's close this route like this. And in here we have a nested route with index and with an element property. Here we say protected route like this. And now let's make sure that this inner route is self-closing like so. Alright, and here we have a problem now. So here in protected route we need to provide a children, and we simply can create a new model. So let's go to our model directory and let's say create channel model.tsx rfce like so, and let's put this model in between the protected route. Create channel model like so. Okay. And now let's try it out. Let's click on here. And we are here on our server layout, which is correct. But we should also see our create channel model, huh? Let's log something to the console. Let's hit refresh. Alright, this is not being rendered. Interesting. Of course, it's not being rendered. In order for placing the children in the server layout, we must go to the server layout and actually use the outlet, yeah, which comes from React Router DOM. Let's import it like this, and there you go. Now we have it, yeah. But for now, I don't want to render this text because it's annoying. So let's go to our create channel model and let's get rid of this text. Okay, nice. Now let's go to navigation. And in here, let's create a new file, server sidebar.tsx rfce. Now let's go to our server layout and let's place it above the outlet. Server sidebar like this. Okay. Let's also make sure to create a CSS file for our server sidebar. So server sidebar.module.css. And then also let's create another component, server header dot .tsx rfce. And now let's use the server header in our server sidebar. Server header, like so. There you go. And you know what? I just figured out it would be better if we change this routing a bit. So I want to make it that we are never on this route. So when clicking on a specific server, we will not go to this path, but we will go to a path where it is something like this. Channels, and then channel type, and channel ID. And the reason for this is when clicking on a server in our sidebar, I want to show the chat window of the general text channel by default, automatically. Yeah? So for this to be working, we need a route like this. Yeah? And actually just this route we will not have. Yeah? Alright, and I figured out something. Let's change it a bit. So what we will be doing is we will actually not use this route here. What I want to do is that by default, when clicking on a specific server, I want to directly go to this route here, channels, and then the channel type and channel ID, like this. And the reason for this is when clicking on a server, I want to go to the general text channel by default. Yeah? So every newly created server has this general text channel, and when clicking on the server, I want to go to this channel automatically. And this is why we will not have this URL here. So what we do instead is the following. Instead of using this server layout, let's use a channel layout. And let's also make sure that we use this path here, and then here the channel layout. And actually we can change the server layout to channel layout .tsx, like this. Channel layout like this. Alright. Now let's import it. And then we will render the channel page in here. So let's create a new page under pages, channel page.tsx, like this, rfce. And let's make sure that we place the channel page in here, like so. Beautiful. Alright, let's go to our server sidebar now. And first of all, let me close all these tabs here. And actually, we can start working on our server header. But maybe before, let's wrap this in a nav tag, like so. And let's do an import of classes from server sidebar.module.css. And let's put class name classes .nav on it, like so. First of all, I would say let's go to the server sidebar module.css. let's target the nav class. And in here, let's say background color. And here we say light dark again. So it works in light and dark mode. We say var parentheses dash dash maintain color gray 3 and then comma, and then we do var dash dash maintain color dark 4, like so. Let's make sure to put a semicolon there, and let's make sure to go to this route, and you see something like this. Alright. Now don't worry about that we don't see the sidebar anymore. We will fix this soon. But first of all, let's work on the server sidebar. Alright. So, next, let's say we want to have a height of 100 VH. Yeah. And let's also say we want to have a padding of var and then maintain spacing MD. And let's say we want to have a nice border right. Rem 1 pixel, solid, light dark, parentheses. And in here, let's say var dash dash maintain color gray 3, comma. And then let's do var dash dash maintain color dark 4. And of course here I forgot a dash. And let's make sure to close everything properly. Oh no. But here this is too much. Alright. And maybe, why not, let's give it a width of rem 80. Oops. Like so. Nice. And do we see the border actually? Yeah, the border is there. Okay, nice. And you know what? Let's make it a bit differently. Because I don't like that we only see the server sidebar now and not the sidebar. We want to be able to see both. So what we do is the following. Let's go to our server sidebar. And here we will do the following. Let's make use of navigate by using use navigate from React Router DOM. Then let's make use of use effect from React. And here we want to do the following. First of all, let's get some URL parameters here. So let's say const curly brackets use params like so from React Router DOM. And in here now let's access the server ID and also the member ID. And currently we don't have the member ID in the URL, but we will have it soon, so don't worry. And now let's do the following. Maybe one thing though, we will have text channels, yeah? And currently we don't have them, in a variable, but we will have them soon. So in our use effect, let's say the following. If now channel ID and now member ID, and then also text channels dot length must be higher than 0. But this is always given. Yeah, I think it's always given because every newly created server has a general text channel. Yeah, so this should be always true. So I think we can go with these two here. And actually, let's also get the channel ID from here. Yeah, currently we don't have them in the URL, but we will create another route soon. So yeah, bear with me. So for the case that there's no channel ID and member ID in the URL, then we want to navigate to, let's use template string here, /servers, then server ID, /channels/ and then we want to access text channels at position 0, because we can have multiple text channels, but the text channel at position 0 will be always the general text channel. Yeah, and we always want to go to this channel automatically. And here we say ID, like so. And we have a problem, we don't have this text channels variable currently. So I would say maybe let's create it now. And here let's also add it here in this condition, yeah? Like so. Okay. And now the important question is how to get these text channels. And we get them by using another hook. So let's create a nice custom hook in hooks and then under server, and we name the hook use server, yeah, .ts. Now I make this large. Let's say export function use server, parentheses, curly brackets. And wait, let me see, do we have already this query in place? No, actually we don't have this query. So what I would suggest is let's jump to the backend and make sure we create this query in our resolver. And we also create a corresponding service method. So let's do that and then come back to our hook here and yeah, let's implement that hook then. Yeah, so first of all, let's jump to our backend and let's go to our server service. Now let's create a new method here, async get server, which takes in an ID of type number and an email of type string. Now let's say const profile is equal to await this Prisma profile find unique. And we put in our email here. Let's close it correctly. Then for the case, now let's say for the case that we don't have a profile, let's return a new Apollo error, profile not found, like so. And then what's wrong here? Alright, I just have seen we already have this get server service method here. That's alright. So let's go to our server resolver and maybe let's create another query here down below get servers, which returns a single server and we name it async get server. And here we need to access the context. Then we expect args. And the first arg is the ID of type number. And then also we expect the profile ID, but actually now we don't need the profile ID, because again we can use the email from our auth guard, yeah, which we are using here. This auth guard puts the email on the request object, so we are fine. And yeah, let's close this. Let's open up the function body. And in here, let's say for the case that we don't have an email, let's throw an error. Otherwise, we can say return this server service get server. Yeah, we named it get server, and we pass in the ID like so. And we pass in the ID of the server and the email like so, yeah? And here you see I made a little mistake. Server service, let's rename this to server service, like so. Okay. And now let's go back to our front end and let's keep working on our hook here. In our hook, let's access the server ID by using use parents from React Router DOM. And we can also type it like this. Yeah, so, all right. And let's get the profile ID from use profile store, yeah, where we access state.profile.id. And here we need to use question mark. Let's also create navigate by using use navigate from React Router DOM. Then in here, let's say const, curly brackets, data, let's name it server, or maybe data server, and also let's use loading, like so. Let's make use of use query from Apollo client. Let's pass in get servers. Oh, sorry, get server. And we need also to create this query. So here in queries, let's create get server.ts. Let's import GQL from Apollo client. Let's say export const get server GQL template string, and then let's make use of backticks query get server, and here we expect an ID of type float, and then also a profile ID of type float. Let's say get server, that's what we named it on our backend. Let's say ID, and we pass in the value for ID. Then let's say profile ID, and we pass in the value for the profile ID. Let's open up curly brackets again. And we want to get back the ID, the profile ID, the name, the image URL, the invite code, and the channels. And there we want to get the ID, the type, and the name of the channel. Then we want to get members. And here we want to have the ID and the role of the member. And then also we want to get the profile ID, which we already have here. Sorry, here I made a mistake. Profile ID name. Sorry, but we want to get the profile ID of the member, like so. And then also of each member we want to get the profile. And here we say ID, name, image URL and email. Like so. Yeah. And then also after two closing curly brackets, let's say profile, and we want to get the ID, name, image URL and email. Like so. Maybe we might not need this profile ID or so here, but we will see. So this should be alright. Do we get any errors? Okay. I think we should be fine here now. No, we are not fine. Alright, here I get an error now because it says it expects ID to be of, and here we get an error, and this is because it expects ID to be float exclamation mark, so it must be float, but we cannot guarantee for this, because here you see the profile ID can be undefined and so on. So let's go back to our backend. Let's go to our server resolver, and let's say that the ID here can be nullable. Yeah. So nullable true. And yeah, alright. Now let's go back to our front end. Let's go to get server again. And you know what? We actually don't need this profile ID again, because we get the ID since we are using our GraphQL auth guard. So we just need the server ID here, yeah? Alright, so we can get rid of this profile ID here. And do we get any other errors? What do we get? Cannot query field profile on type channel. So what do we have here? Alright, I might have made a mistake here. Let me look. Yeah, and the mistake I made is, let's get rid of one closing curly bracket here. The channel has no profile here, yeah, so we must close the channel after the name here, yeah, like so. And now everything is fine, yeah. And the reason for this is, again, you can go to your schema.prisma, you can go to your model server, and the reason is why we got this error that it has no profile is, you see that a channel should have a profile, yeah, it should have. But let's go to our types in server, and here you see that our channel has not provided a field name profile, and this is why we get this error. But actually I think we do not need the profile field on the channel, so maybe let's leave it like this, and yeah, we are good. We basically just need the profile of the server, which is basically the creator of the server, yeah. Alright, and cool, now let's go to our use server hook again, and here we can use get server now. Then let's also properly type it, get server query and get server query variables, like so. Let's provide options here, and firstly let's say variables. Here we need the ID, and we need to use number here, number, because the server ID is a string, yeah, string or undefined, so we need to use number here. Okay, and what's happening here? Here we get an error. Okay, why do we get an error here? Let's go back to our get server query. ID of type float. This looks fine. So why do we have this error here? Variables. Okay, let's go to the backend again. To our server resolver. We have nullable is true. Okay, for now I'm not really sure why we get this error, but let's keep going and let's see if this will be working. So what we do next is, for the case that we get an error, let's do the following. Let's say on error. Then we simply want to navigate to slash. Navigate to slash. Can get rid of this error here, alright. And now let's say const text channels is equal to server, or I should say data server, get server, and then we can access the channels. And then we can say filter. Here we get access to each channel. And we can say we want to check whether channel.type is equal to channel type, which comes from GraphQL. It was auto-generated for us by using GraphQL CodeGen. So here we say text, channel type, we have to import it, and then we can say text like so. Okay. And for the case that there are no text channels, it's null, then we want to return an empty array like so. And here we have an error now. Why is this? Okay, question mark here, like so. Okay, cool. Now, we also will have other channels, like audio channels, video channels, and so on. And you know what? Why not? Let's create them quickly. So let's say const audio channels is equal to data server, get server, and channels. Again, here we get access to each channel. And then we do the same as above, but we check whether the channel type is channel type audio. And so what this does is, we basically are not only interested here in text channels and audio channels. So we only grab all the channels with a type of audio, Alright. And then let's do it for video channels as well. It's pretty similar, but here we check for channel type.video. Alright, next we want to find the members. But here we want to exclude the authenticated user, the user who is currently logged in. We do not want to include him, So what we say is server, question mark, members, and then we say get server, question mark, members, question mark, find. We access the member in here and we say member.profile ID exclamation mark double equal profile ID. So we are not interested in returning the member that is currently logged in, And what's wrong here? Okay, this must be data server. And here we need to provide a question mark. So we want to have all other members except us, This is what we are doing here. And then also we want to have the role. And here we are interested in the role of the currently authenticated user. Yeah. So what we say is data server (get server members). Then again we use find. Then we access the member, and then here we say member.profile ID == profile ID, like so. Let's close it, !role, like this. And this gives us the role of the authenticated user, so to speak, yeah, who is part of this server. Okay. And last but not least, we can return an object with a property of server. So here we say data server (get server). We return loading, text channels, audio channels, video channels, members, and role, like so. Beautiful. And I'm not really sure why we have this error here. And of course, I know why. You see, I use get servers here. This must be get server. So let's correctly import it. Get server query variables. And now the error is gone. Nice. Let's close it. Let's go back to our server sidebar. And now we can make use of our beautiful hook here. So let's use server. Yeah, let's import it. Like so. And it does not need any arguments. And here we can get our text channels, like so. Okay. And actually, we also need to provide the channel type here. Let's say text. This is important. And now we are good to go here. Now let's go to our main.tsx. And for now, let's create a new route. Underneath this closing route tag, let's say route. And then path is equal to servers, server ID. Don't forget the colon here. Server ID, then channels, then the channel type, which can be text, video, or audio, and then the channel ID here, yeah, like so. Then, as element here for this route, let's provide the channel layout, which we have to create. So let's go to layouts, new file, channel layout.tsx, rfce, like so. Let's import it. Channel layout. Let's close this. And now we have a nested route in here. Let's say route index, and then element equal curly brackets, protected route. Let's also close this route properly. And what's wrong here? Okay, I need another closing route tag. Oops. Wait, what's wrong here? Maybe I have one route tag too much here, yeah? Okay. And actually, we can create a new page. And oh, I already have it here. I'm not sure whether you have seen me creating this. So make sure you have a channel page here, which looks like this. And let's put it in here, yeah? Channel page. And now we should be fine. Now let's try it out. Okay, my bad. So we must get rid of this here. Oh my god. And now let's go back to our browser. Let's hit refresh. Now let's click on server here. And we go to server header. Okay. but we actually should go to this road here. Why we are not going to this road? Not really sure. Let's go back to our server sidebar. Somehow this is not working. Let's add dependencies. So let's add channel ID, member ID, and so on. Now let's try it out again. Okay, and somehow this is not working here. Yeah, when clicking here, we go to this road, but we should be navigated to this here. Yeah, and the reason why we get only to this here instead of this is that we actually don't have any text channels here. Yeah, so when looking here in our query, in our browser, you see that channels is null. Yeah, so this is why we are not being navigated to this URL. So we must go back to the backend. Let's go to our server service, and here we have get server, and we forgot something important. So after this where clause, let's make include, and let's add channels true, like so. And maybe also members. I'm not really sure whether we need them, but just add them. And now let's try it out again. And wow, you see we are being redirected to this route. This is what we want. And you also see that we have channels in here now, yeah? And by default, we always have this text channel with the name of general, yeah? And whenever we click on a channel, what we want to do is we want to be redirected to this URL, yeah? So we are automatically in the chat of the text channel with the name of general, yeah? So this is what we wanted to achieve.